Hello, you are watching the Daily Benefits Update channel. Tell us in the comments where you are watching the video. If you have received a letter from the Social Security Administration about your benefits and your status as someone living or planning to live outside the United States and read it 3 times without fully understanding what it was actually saying about your eligibility or your payment, this video is for you. Today we are going to go through how Social Security pays beneficiaries who live abroad in plain English, no jargon, no complicated formulas. Just a clear explanation of exactly who qualifies to receive Social Security outside the United States, how those payments are sent, what the maximum monthly amount looks like, and what rules apply to people in this situation. I am Andrew, and I have spent time going through the SSA's official guidelines on international payments, including their published country-by-country eligibility rules and the Foreign Enforcement Questionnaire process. Everything here comes directly from ssa.gov and the SSA's International Programs documentation. Before we get into this, if you find this kind of plain language explanation of Social Security and Medicare rules useful, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, this channel covers one benefit topic in the same straightforward format. Now, let us get into how Social Security payments work for people living outside the United States. The most common misunderstanding about Social Security and living abroad is that moving outside the United States automatically stops your Social Security benefits. This misunderstanding is completely understandable. Many people associate Social Security with American residency. You worked in America, paid into the system in America, so it seems logical that you would need to remain in America to collect. But that is not how the program works for most recipients. Here is how it actually works. Most Americans who are entitled to Social Security retirement or disability benefits can continue receiving those payments regardless of where in the world they live, with a specific set of exceptions based on the country of residence. The SSA maintains a published list of countries where payments can and cannot be sent, and the rules differ depending on which program you are receiving: retirement, disability, or supplemental security income. We are going to go through each part of this in detail, so by the end of this video, you have a complete and accurate picture of who gets paid abroad, how much, and what you need to do to keep those payments coming. To make this concrete, let me use an example. Consider someone like Walter. Walter is 72 years old, a retired civil engineer who spent his career working for a construction firm in South Carolina. After his wife passed, Walter decided to spend his retirement years living closer to extended family in Portugal. Walter assumed that relocating permanently outside the United States would end his Social Security retirement benefit. Before making the move, he called the SSA and was relieved to learn that was not the case. Here is what was actually happening in Walter's situation. Portugal is on the SSA's list of countries where Social Security payments can be sent without restriction. Walter's monthly retirement benefit of $2,400 continued to be deposited directly into his U.S. bank account, which he accesses through an international ATM. Once per year, Walter completes what the SSA calls a Foreign Enforcement Questionnaire, a short form confirming he is still alive, still residing in Portugal, and that his circumstances have not changed in a way that would affect his eligibility. Walter's benefit continued without interruption. Understanding the actual SSA rules answered his question before it became a barrier to his plans. This is not unusual. This situation comes up regularly for people in Walter's circumstances, and the answer is more straightforward than most people expect. Part 1. Who can receive Social Security abroad? The basic rule. Let us start with the foundation. Who is eligible to receive Social Security payments outside the United States? According to the SSA's official publication on foreign payments, available at ssa.gov under the International Programs section, most people who are entitled to Social Security retirement or survivor's benefits can receive those payments regardless of where they live, as long as they are a U.S. citizen or meet certain non-citizen eligibility requirements. The SSA divides countries into 3 broad categories for this purpose. The first category includes countries where the SSA can send payments freely with no restrictions. This covers the majority of countries where American retirees commonly live, including most of Western Europe, Canada, Australia, Japan, and many others. The second category includes countries where payments can be sent but with additional conditions, often related to the recipient's citizenship or how they qualified for benefits. The third category includes a small list of countries where the SSA is legally prohibited from sending payments altogether. This group currently includes Cuba and North Korea, among a small number of others. You might be wondering, how do I find out which category my country falls into? The answer is straightforward. The SSA publishes a tool called the Payments Abroad Screening Tool directly at ssa.gov. You enter your country of residence, your citizenship, and the type of benefit you receive, and it tells you specifically whether and how you can be paid. Part 2. The maximum benefit amount and how it is calculated. Now that we understand who qualifies, we can look at the actual dollar amounts, because this is where a lot of confusion enters the conversation. According to the SSA's 2025 benefit data published at ssa.gov, the maximum Social Security retirement benefit for someone who claims at full retirement age is $5,181 per month. That maximum applies to workers who had very high lifetime earnings over a full working career and who claimed benefits at exactly their full retirement age, not early, not late. The typical monthly Social Security retirement benefit is considerably lower. According to SSA data, the average monthly retirement benefit in 2025 is approximately $1,907. Most people receive somewhere in that range because their lifetime earnings were lower than the maximum they claimed before full retirement age, or both. For people living abroad, the benefit amount itself does not change based on country of residence. Your monthly payment is calculated the same way it would be if you lived in the United States, based on your lifetime earnings record, your age at the time you claimed, and whether any reductions or adjustments apply to your specific record. In Walter's situation specifically, his $2,400 monthly benefit was calculated entirely based on his work history in the United States. Moving to Portugal did not reduce or increase that figure. Part 3. How payments actually reach you abroad. This next part is where it gets more specific, because the mechanics of receiving your payment outside the United States are different from domestic direct deposit. Per the SSA's International Payment Guidelines, the agency strongly prefers to pay beneficiaries abroad through direct deposit to a U.S. bank account. If you maintain a U.S. bank account, which most American retirees abroad do, your payment is deposited on the same Wednesday-based schedule as domestic recipients, and you access those funds through your bank's international services. The SSA also offers direct deposit to banks in certain foreign countries through agreements with international financial institutions. As of the SSA's most recent published list, this option is available in a number of countries including Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, and several others. The list is available at ssa.gov under the International Direct Deposit section. You might be wondering, what if I do not have a U.S. bank account and my country is not on the International Direct Deposit list? The answer is that in those cases, the SSA can issue a paper check drawn in U.S. dollars sent to your foreign address. Many recipients in this situation then exchange the check at a local bank. This is the least common arrangement, as most beneficiaries abroad maintain U.S. accounts, but it is available. Part 4. The annual questionnaire and ongoing eligibility. And finally, this is the piece that ties everything together, what you need to do each year to keep your payments coming without interruption. According to the SSA's Program Operations Manual System, the agency sends a form called the Foreign Enforcement Questionnaire, sometimes referred to as an FEQ, to beneficiaries living abroad on a periodic basis, typically once per year. This form asks you to confirm that you are still living, that your address is current, that your citizenship status has not changed, and that no circumstances have changed that would affect your eligibility. The SSA uses this form in place of the routine monitoring it does automatically for domestic recipients through other federal data systems. For domestic recipients, the SSA can cross-check records with other agencies to confirm continued eligibility. For international recipients, the questionnaire serves that same function. Failing to return this form within the specified time frame, typically 30 days from the date on the form, can result in your payments being suspended until the form is received and processed. This is the single most common reason international recipients experience a gap in their payments. The solution is straightforward. Return the form as soon as you receive it, and keep your mailing address current with the SSA at all times. Cross-benefit connection, Medicare and living abroad. One thing worth understanding about Social Security and living abroad is how it connects to Medicare. Unlike Social Security, Medicare does not cover medical care received outside the United States in most circumstances. Medicare Part A and Part B are designed for use with U.S.-based providers. If you move abroad and continue receiving Social Security, your Medicare coverage does not travel with you in a way that pays for routine foreign medical care. Many Americans living abroad either maintain private international health insurance, rely on the local health system of their country of residence, or return to the United States periodically for medical care they want covered under Medicare. This is not a warning, just something worth knowing so you have the complete picture when thinking through what living abroad on Social Security actually looks like in practice. Before we finish, let me answer 3 questions that come up most often about Social Security payments abroad. Question 1. Do I have to pay U.S. taxes on my Social Security if I live in another country? In most cases, yes. U.S. citizens living abroad are still subject to U.S. federal income tax, including on Social Security benefits, under the same income thresholds that apply to domestic recipients. However, the United States has tax treaties with a number of countries that can affect how your Social Security income is taxed. IRS Publication 54, The Tax Guide for U.S. Citizens and Resident Aliens Abroad, covers this in detail and is available free at irs.gov. If you live in a country with a U.S. tax treaty, the specific terms of that treaty determine your tax situation. Question 2. Can I receive Social Security if I am not a U.S. citizen living abroad? It depends on several factors: your country of citizenship, how you qualified for benefits, and what country you are living in. Non-citizens who earned Social Security through their own U.S. work record have different rules than those receiving benefits based on a spouse's record. The SSA's Payments Abroad screening tool at ssa.gov will walk through your specific combination of factors and tell you directly what applies to your situation. Question 3. What happens to my Social Security if I become a citizen of another country? For most people receiving retirement benefits based on their own earnings record, acquiring citizenship in another country does not by itself affect eligibility. You remain eligible as long as you meet the standard SSA requirements. The exception is if your new country of citizenship is one of the restricted countries on the SSA's payment list, or if your benefit is a type that has citizenship-based eligibility requirements. The SSA recommends notifying them of any change in citizenship status so your record remains accurate. Everything we covered today applies generally, but your specific situation, your country of residence, your citizenship, and the type of benefit you receive may have details that change how these rules apply to you. The most reliable way to get your exact answer is ssa.gov/international. The SSA's International Programs page, including the Payments Abroad screening tool, is the most direct way to look up your specific country and benefit type. This is the right starting point for anyone planning a move abroad. The SSA's main line. If you are already living abroad and have questions about your specific payment or annual questionnaire, you can also contact the Federal Benefits Unit at the nearest U.S. Embassy or consulate in your country of residence. They work directly with the SSA on international payment issues. IRS.gov, Publication 54, The Tax Guide for U.S. Citizens and Resident Aliens Abroad, covers the tax side of receiving Social Security while living outside the United States. It is free and covers treaty situations by country. These are free, they are official, and they will give you answers specific to your situation, not general answers like this video does. One factual note before we finish. The SSA communicates by mail, not by phone calls demanding payment, not by text threatening benefit suspension, not by emails asking for your Social Security number. This is true whether you live in the United States or abroad. International recipients should be particularly aware that scammers sometimes target Americans living overseas, posing as U.S. government representatives. If you receive any such communication, you can verify its legitimacy by contacting the Federal Benefits Unit at your nearest U.S. embassy, or by calling directly. I am curious, was there a specific part of how Social Security works for people living outside the United States that you found most unclear before watching this? Leave it in the comments. The most common questions become future videos. That is Social Security payments abroad explained as clearly as I can put it. If something is still unclear, the comment section is open and I read every question. If this was useful, share it with someone who had the same question. I am Andrew. I will see you in the next one.